do work like scummy.
Oh, full of love and Yawwie news! It may have been a minute, but we're back. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 7 of Yawwie News, the show where I talk about some of the latest railway headlines. And yes, it's great to be back as your local newsman after what felt like 8 decades since the last episode. Again, life got very much in the way, mainly because of uni. I can only apologise for keeping you all waiting. Anyway, my good friend Gary, how much news do we have to get through tonight? On second thought, sod this, feck off. Right, jokes aside, let's get a bloody move on. And my goodness, do we have some great news to start off with. COVID-225 is over. Yeah, in your dreams, plumps. But with the ease of COVID restrictions, we've seen a massive change with Eurostar, as they've slowly been introducing more services out of St Pancras, and they've also merged with French operator Thalys. Plus, 373s are back. Yay! TfL are still scarily financially screwed from the impact of the pandemic and relying on emergency funding from the government. But in good news, the Waterloo and City line is back, as well as the Night Tube, with the Jubilee and Northern lines having recently returned to those services. And lastly, 450067 was the latest train that received a special key workers livery, looking snazzy in those vibrant colours. I hated how it looked at first, but after I saw it in person, it isn't really that bad. In our first story, after a while in the works and saying a sad goodbye to Vivarail, we finally say a grand hello to the brand new Elizabeth line. Yes, the 24th of May 2022 marked the official opening of the core Crossrail section between Paddington and Abbey Wood, the new cross-London Underground Railway route that we were aching to have for years, and served by our wonderful Crossrail Vivarail Purple Elizabeth line class OW trains. See, because the eventual seats are rock hard. Gary, I said we weren't using that edit, you plum! Upon the introduction of the brand new route, the Elizabeth line is currently set in phases, with full integration of the line not due to take effect until May 2023, meaning for now that anyone travelling via the core will have to change at either Paddington or Liverpool Street for services onwards into the west or east of London. Also, Bond Street Station, which is currently behind schedule, remains closed for the time being, with estimates that it will hopefully open by this autumn. And you would have thought with this line opening that TfL would retire the remaining 315s? Well, no. There are still a few left roaming about, so try to catch them if you can before they probably all go by September or the end of the year. And what a hectic opening day that was! So bloody hectic that of course we missed the chance of boarding the first train from Paddington because of how large the fricking queue was. But eventually we got down there, rode the line a few times, and honestly, it was quite fun. We even attended that Purple Train sing-along thing that Jeff Marshall organised, which in my opinion might have been the cheesiest song I've ever heard.
I don't like this song.
As well as that, limited edition Elizabeth line Oyster cards were out and about being acquired by hundreds. Of course I didn't get one, because why would you want an Oyster card showing the maquette of a seat that's so uncomfortable you wish you should have brought your sofa with you to sit on instead. However, I suppose all of this was just in full spirit of the line opening, even though technically we should have had this route ages ago. But we'll just brush right past that fact and pretend I didn't say anything. Overall though, I think everyone involved in this project has done a brilliant job. The line is fast, impressively quiet, and every single station looks absolutely fantastic. Most importantly, once everything is fully integrated, this will without a doubt completely revolutionise the way we travel around London, especially for cutting those journey times. Anyway, for now, this has been me here on the Plastic Express, or as everyone else calls it, the Purple Train.
But they're bad!
Also in the news, before the opening of Crossrail, in September 2021 we had the opening of the Northern Line extension from Nine Elms to Battersea Power Station. God damn it, why does that always happen when I say it? The new line, which diverges from Kennington, is a grand total of 2 miles long and is also the latest major tube line expansion since the JLE in 1999. Both the new tube stations are very spacious inside, featuring some stunning architecture, and this amazing art piece displayed at Battersea Power Station known as Sunset Sunrise Sunset. Also, following the opening of this extension, you are now able to catch a train all the way down to Mill Hill East without having to change at Finchley Central for a shuttle. Plus, who knows if TfL will even extend the line to Clapham Junction in the future. But you have to ask their crippling bank account for that information. Anyway, love the work that was put into making the 2 new stations. Love those new announcements.
The next station is 9 Elm.
And I can't wait for when trains are not every 10 minutes. Oh wait, they aren't. God, I'm so late. Now heading back into this year, and about a week prior to the Crossrail launch, following months of closure, we had the reopening of the Northern Line Bank branch, after the southbound platforms at Bank received quite the large upgrade. Similar to the southbound platform upgrades at London Bridge back in 1996, what used to be the old platform and track at Bank has now become the all-new passenger concourse, with the new platforms located just a little further down the area. The new concourse layout, which was done as part of the Bank station upgrades, will also link to improved Central and DLR connections, plus a brand new station entrance currently being built between Monument and Cannon Street. Once again, a fantastic job to all involved, especially since they actually managed to reopen the line a day ahead of schedule. And I hope you're all happy you no longer need to put up with those painful 733 Gemini Street Deck rides. I hate Geminis. Also in the news, something else I haven't properly covered in any previous news videos, which is regarding the second speed of High. Who wrote this? This mammoth of a project is set to form the backbone of the British transport network, connecting towns in the south, Midlands and north with a much faster and more reliable way of travelling. As you know already, the line was split into 3 phases. Phase 1, currently under construction, is from London Euston to Birmingham via Old Oak Common. Phase 2A will continue onwards from the West Midlands into Crewe, and Phase 2B, which is the interesting one, covers 2 branches. The western leg, which connects Crewe with Manchester, including links to other areas for existing lines, and the eastern leg, which was meant to reach Leeds via the new East Midlands hub station, except this leg was scrapped. Furthermore, there were also plans to build another high-speed rail network known as Northern Powerhouse Rail, which would have stretched from Liverpool to Leeds via Manchester, except this project was also scrapped. Now the reason why the lines were scrapped is simple. Instead of building new railway, the better thing to do according to the government was to just cheap out and announce plans to modernise existing infrastructure for the affordable price of 96 billion, as discussed in their integrated rail plan. And to sort of summarise this document, well, there are basically plans to electrify the Transpennine and Midland main lines, plus upgrade the East Coast main line between London and Leeds, allowing trains to run up to 140 miles an hour in some sections. However, a small section of the old eastern leg is still planned to go ahead, though it will only go as far as East Midlands Parkway, with connections to Nottingham and Sheffield that will also be served by HS2 services. Then, in December, HS2 also revealed the official concept of their new dedicated rolling stock, of which the £2 billion contract to build the 54 trains was awarded to Hitachi and Alstom. And they look questionable. I mean, looks okay, but could still do with a slight redesign before they actually begin the production line. Also, the trains will be built in Derby, so Lord help it. And we expect the first of these units built by 2027 and in service between 2029 and 2033. Aside the stupid setbacks, it's good to see that HS2 is making steady progress, and I really look forward to seeing the further development and construction plans they have in place. I know we're still quite a long way off from seeing anything major, but as long as nothing goes badly wrong, then we should hear more updates fairly soon. Poor Leeds though. Also in the news, another thing that keeps appearing and never goes away, derailments! Oh, kill me! Now, we'd be here forever if I went through every event in detail, so I'm just going to briefly summarise all of them in order from August last year until now. We first had the Class 444 empty stock move derailment at Fratton CSD. 008 was the victim of this incident, and luckily there were no reported injuries or deaths. Next was the shed incident at March, where 66754 derailed along with 3 wagons after hitting a tractor. Again, no deaths or injuries were reported. In October, Hammond crashed orange train into buffers at Enfield Town, mate. 2 injuries were reported, including the driver, who was then arrested for taking drugs.
You can't park there, sir.
The same month, a rather serious collision occurred at the Fisherton Tunnel near Salisbury, involving SWR Unit 159102 and GWR Units 158, 762 and 763 because of slippery weather conditions. No deaths were reported, but 13 people were hospitalised, and one of the drivers sadly suffered life-changing injuries. A ScotRail Class 170 obtained some serious damage from a fallen tree, though luckily nobody was injured from this. 802-207 did an oops yet Heaton depot for some unknown reason, probably because the train wanted to commit suicide or something, but no one was hurt. The same day, a pile of garbage derailed at Cambridge carriage sidings. Again, everyone was alright. A 6-car Transport for Wales 150 collided with a stolen digger near Craven Arms. 2 of the units were severely damaged, and as a result, 2 units from Northern are on loan. Then this happened recently near Doncaster, where another shed hit the back of a freight train ahead of it, and from what I've heard, no one was injured. Great to know that most people were okay from these events, but please, no derailments. I beg. My friends, we've reached that time again to check up on the UK nation's most favourite train, the Class 701. The train's well known for being simply terrible. Previously on Yawwie News, you may remember when I mentioned this. Also, if you're wondering when these buckets will enter service, they're currently scheduled to enter traffic by early 2021, but let's hope that gets pushed back further, eh? Well then, we're now in the middle of 2022. Where are they? Of course. These trains have honestly got to be the biggest failures of all time. After all these years, the Class 701 Arterios, more like the Class 701 Clogged Arteries, have well and truly exceeded all our expectations by still being completely unfit for revenue service. Why is this the case? Well, let's just say that they've gotten to the point where they're all likely to potentially blow up, which I find so funny because who would have thought Bombardier were that bad at building trains? I mean, no wonder they went and got bought by Alstom. At least they can just about build trains properly without using designs that are complete eyesores. Oh, for God's sake, get that trash off my screen! Plus, not to mention the effect this has had on the rest of the existing network. In fact, how are current services running at the moment? Oh dear. You see, as a result of the articulated cardboard boxes being delayed for 40 years, it has now led to a significant decline of available rolling stock that those trains are set to replace. And it won't be long until the network completely runs out of trains, since the remaining Class 707s don't have very long left before they move to South Eastern. Class 458s are still due their major refurbishments. 455s don't really have very long left, considering some units have already been stored plus stripped for spares. And the Class 456s are got. Wait, what? Now that wasn't very smart now, was it? And how long will it be until we see Class 701s in full swing, you may ask? Well... yes, my friends, even when the first 701 finally enters service, it will still take them 2 years to completely infest the network, though by then it will be 2 years too late. Honestly, how on earth could SWR order trains that were so broken and then still have the audacity to withdraw their other trains despite the fact the new trains are broken? Do people not realise how much of an inconvenience this is, especially when they're short-forming more of their services? I honestly have so many questions to ask. But for now, considering we'll be out of trains soon, just enjoy your inevitable 455 to Reading. Or a 450 to Chessington South. Or maybe Woking, which may then turn into a 2-car 158. Then a pump car. Then a rail replacement bus. What a joke. Anyway, go on then. Blow up. Also in the news, Southeastern Class 707s are in service. After a long phase of driver training and testing, in late September 2021, the Zero Cities transferred from South Western Railway into service on the Southeastern network, operating on metro routes between Charing Cross, Cannon Street, and all these other places in Kent I can't be asked to name again. Ahead of their passenger debut, the trains received a fancy new corporate livery, an internal refresh featuring new seat maquettes and POS displays, with announcements that are no longer text-to-speech, thank God, and also the new brand name Citybeam. As well as that, they even now show calling points on the destination screens, which I think is a really neat and helpful touch. Love the work Southeastern have done towards providing these excellent trains with a new home, and as much as they're really needed here in the southwest, at least they've now gone to a better place. For some reason though, I don't know why people are referring to these trains as city memes. If anything, they should be called City Ning. Because you know, I have multiple problems. Anyway, what the breaking old news? May I address the elephant in the room? Get it? Literally days after the Citybeams entered service, the government stripped Southeastern of its franchise following a serious breach involving £25 million of unaccounted for taxpayer money. The franchise was given the boot on the 16th of October, and then the next day, operations of the Southeastern network were handed over to the DfT, who will continue to run the franchise until 2024. I mean, how strange is that? The main point aside, this is now the second time a TFC has lost its franchise soon after receiving Class 707s. I don't know what curse these trains have, but whether they're planning on world domination or not, you should be aware of their presence. Now Gary, let's not give the City Ning a bad reputation here. Speaking of all things entering service, the East Coast Main Line has a new contender, as Lumo is officially at your acquaintance. On the 25th of October 2021, First East Coast Trains, now known as Lumo, opened its doors to the public with their aim to provide a cheaper and faster alternative for customers travelling between London and Edinburgh. As it stands, the fleet consists of 5 Class 803 electric units, which are blue, and services call at the following places: Morpeth, Newcastle, not York because screw you, and Stevenage, though this only applies to some trains. Upon introduction, there are merely 2 trains per day running in each direction. However, since the beginning of 2022, this has now increased to 5 trains each way. On board, you also get all the standard benefits such as USB ports, Wi-Fi, and a food/trolley service, just without the expense of first class, considering you're only paying as little as 30 quid for a ticket. Alright. And the name Lumo, well, that's just a combination of the words luminosity and motion, which does sound like a bit of a lazy job if you really think about it, but I'm not really that fussed. All I'd say though is that logo is just odd. The 803 livery is dull as hell, and considering several customers will be using these services, then maybe trains longer than 5 cars would be more suitable. Also, why don't they stop at York? It's such a major railway hub. But this is only my opinion. Critique aside, I'm sure everyone using these trains has had a pleasant experience. You know, just as long as nothing went wrong. Oh no. Right then, that's one problem already. So how long till the crack show up? Am I right? Piss off. Also tonight, the Island Line is back. As it has been for 9 months, you late bastard. But yes, the line reopened back in November 2021 following its painstaking 10-month overhaul, which included adding level boarding to stations by either raising platform heights or lowering track levels, increasing the line voltage to 750 volts DC, and reinstating the old passing loop at Brigade. Unfortunately, no huge station renovations as I originally kind of hoped for because lol. But at least now we have those lovely Class 484D trains serving us, which are just so cool. I really need to travel on them at some point. And speaking of D trains, guess where else they're going to be heading? As part of a trial, battery-powered Class 230s are expected to be tested on the Greenford branch in West London, replacing existing diesel Class 165 networker turbos. Great Western Railway started seeking a supplier for the trial last year to prove the ability of a battery-powered train, and recently signed a deal with Vivarail to test their converted ex-district line trains. As well as that, the trial will be supported by fast-charging trackside equipment, which which will be tested on the D trains and installed at West Ealing Station. Commencing of this trial is due to take place later on this year, though an exact date has not been provided as of yet. Or maybe it happened already, considering how late I am. Man, I hate this job. And now, for some very important news regarding our planet, hosted by me, Sir David Attenborough. Because for some reason, I sound like David Attenborough. As you know, our world is at risk, and because we're not doing anything about it, we're all going to die by 2050. Let's take this moment to recap on COP26. Here we see a Class 390, which was repainted into a wonderful climate change livery by Avanti West Coast and named Opportunity by some girl from Milton Keynes. Here we see a battery-powered Class 230, which I assume will be the one due to operate on the Greenwood line that was showcased at Glasgow Central. And here we see the Class 799 Hydroflex, the UK's first hydrogen train made out of a can of beans, which was also showcased at Glasgow Central. That is all regarding the railway's contributions to the COP26 event. Thank you all for listening, and back to you, Yawwie, in the Yawwie News studio. Cheers, Sir David. Also in the headlines, work has begun on the £170 million Avanti West Coast Pendolino refurbishment project. Over the past few months, trains have been slowly rolling out on the West Coast main line following their long overdue internal upgrades that are being carried out by Alstom. Some of the key features of this extensive refurbishment include new LED lighting, new standard class seats, which are the same designs as the ones fitted in Class 803s, refurbished first class seats, plug sockets and USB ports, new seat occupancy sensors, brand new destination displays, extra luggage spaces, a redesigned cafe bar area, wireless charging at tables, and a whole new standard premium area, which uses the same seats as first class, but is about as worthless as a trip on the Gatwick Express. All 11 car sets will be receiving these refurbishments first, with a few already completed so far, and if all goes well, the entire fleet should hopefully be refurbished by 2024. Wow, this looks like some incredibly exciting stuff. But what do you make of these upgrades? Be sure to share your opinions down below. Come on though, standard premium? What do you think of this, Gary? In some rather special news, LNER revealed the official new livery for the remaining 225 sets, which is... those absolute legends. Yes, all 225 cars will be receiving a modified version of the Intercity Swallow livery, which is a great nod to the history of these fantastic workhorses. Plus, even the iconic liveries on Units 110 and 111 receive updates as part of this program as well, looking all fresh and brand new. Absolutely brilliant work from LNER, and I look forward to seeing the rest of the fleet rolled out in those colours. Gosh, the veg must be completely creaming themselves.
I'm going to bust nuts!
New National Rail contracts were recently awarded to Thameslink and Great Western Railway by the DfT, which should see them both running into 2025, with possible further extensions into 2028. Well, best of luck to both of them. You can now still gladly enjoy more of your superior German traction. And your... No, Gary, that's not an 800, you idiot! And lastly, it's time we said our final goodbyes, as once again we've reached another end of a great era. The first trains that left us this year were the Class 456s of South Western Railway. These units joined the South West in 2014, first serving the Ascot to Guildford line before moving to work alongside Class 455s on mainline suburban services. They were meant to be replaced by the Class 701s, however their life was cut short following the pandemic outbreak in December, and the last units ran on the 15th of January 2022. All units since were stored at Long Marston, where they await the Scrap God as their final fate. Then, as a result of the May timetable change, we saw the last of Great Western Railway services out of Brighton after 92 years. with the final train departing Brighton at 17:02 on the 13th of May. And the next day, on the 14th of May, it was the end of the line for the Southern Class 455s. True workhorses of the Southern region, which in my opinion had one of the best send-offs of all time. On that final day, the Metro Marauder Tour was held, which saw units 841 and 835 galloping around the Southern network before their final send-off at London Victoria. It was just such a cool experience to have been there, seeing enthusiasts gathering together to give these old girls one last cheer, and also meeting so many of you lot, which I honestly did not expect. But, at the end of the day, while the Southern 455s may not have been the best of trains, they certainly served us well for 40 years. And if there's one thing I'm going to miss about them the most, it's... And lastly, the amazing Class 317s of Greater Anglia, my favourite Mark III derived trains, which eventually saw their end on the 16th of July 2022. These trains were once the dominators of the West Anglian lines. However, one by one, they were slowly vote-kicked out of operation as their replacements rolled in, and now their destiny lives on through the not-as-special Class 720. The last units had a terrific send-off. Well, apart from... May they all experience horrible discipline. But the 317s will be deeply missed, and with them gone, the West Anglian region will never be the same. All that's left to do now is to cry. The era of Braille Mark III derived rolling stock is almost over. I'm sorry though, I still can't let this image pass. I'm kidding. Also, well done on raising £818, my friend. Oh, thank God. We actually made it to the end of the main headlines. And if you are somehow still watching this, then you are damn right insane. Anyway, in other news, to assist with the loss of Southern 455s, some 377-5s from South Eastern will move over to Southern, with 465-9s returning to mainline services in their place. 377 units 163 and 164 were also transferred back to Southern, and trains now only go as far as Watford Junction instead of Milton Keynes Central. Avanti West Coast Class 805 and 807 trains have begun static testing, which is the assessing of the basic functionality of the brakes, toilets, doors and stuff before they're allowed to move under their own power. After the launch of the Elizabeth line, many tube lines received updated announcements.
The next station is Untitled Road. Change here the Central Line and the Elizabeth Line.
However, of course, the Central Line of all lines got those announcements wrong. Because it's not a tube line! Also yes, the Jubilee line has an updated announcement for Canning Town for some reason.
The next station is Canning Town. Doors will open.
I mean, sure, but I prefer the original one. We finally have some progress on the 92 stock improvement program. One unit has been retractioned and sounds just like an S-stock, and another has the new PAS displays installed. TfL are working on ways of tackling the noise problem between Camden Town and Euston on the Northern Line, at last, and a happy belated birthday to the 1972 stock, the oldest passenger trains in the UK, which are now 50 years old and still kicking. And will be for another 100 years knowing TfL's financial debt. The new Barking Riverside Overground Station is open, but more on that in a future video. EMR's new Aurora fleet are under construction, and delivery on the Class 360s had a slight redesign. Cool. GB Railfreight ordered 30 Stadler Class 99 bi-mode locomotives as part of their aims to increase their sustainability. These locos are set to replace the Class 66s and expected in service by 2025. 90021 wears a new livery celebrating 100 years of the WH Malcolm Logistics Group. GBRF also went ham with repainting a few of their Class 66s. 796 sports a brand new HS2 livery, 708 was given a special Ukrainian livery, and 734 received a special Platinum Jubilee livery. To add, 67007 received a new Jubilee livery, and some other trains received Platinum Jubilee stickers. Nice. 800-008 went from gay to even gayer after its slight livery update and being named Alan Turing. 357-318 also came out gay after C2C unveiled their new Pride train. Oh, and what's that, Gary? Ah, it seems EMR have also joined in the Pride fun. Right in time as I'm still editing this. Cross Country Power Car 43384 was given the Intercity Executive livery and renumbered 43184. Gatwick Express are back in operation.
Oh no.
Alstom again were awarded the contract to deliver Phase 5 of the Victoria Signalling project, with completion of the scheme expected by 2025. Modern live departure boards are now in place displaying at London Waterloo and Victoria stations. Chances are I've probably missed another station with this, so if I have, do let me know. This abomination exists, and prepare to scream in 3, 2, 1. LNER introduced daily direct trains to and from Middlesbrough, with services commencing last December. A few months earlier, in November, regular passenger trains started running on the Dartmoor line again after 49 years. 4-car Class 222 Meridians were converted to 5-car trains, with those extra cars taken from some 7-car units, and as a result, 222104 looks like this. My gosh, that thing is hella cursed. Despite the rest of the 365s being scrapped following their withdrawal, 2 cars from 524 and a car from 540 are preserved at the East Kent Railway. Former C2C Class 387s, previously with Great Western Railway, were transferred to Great Northern. In their place, C2C's new Class 720s have arrived and are currently on test runs. The following trains were authorised for passenger services: the Ogres, Class 197s for TFW, and the Class 730s for West Midlands Railway. Also for Transport for Wales, Class 231 Flirts are in the region on test runs. And what the hell is that? A battery-powered Class 230 unit was sent out for testing in the US with the Rock Hill Trolley Museum in Pennsylvania. The service was named the Pop-Up Metro System, and in addition, another unit was sent down to the US as well. There's a Train Sim World 2 sticker on an HS64 loco. And this is the official Great British Railways logo, which is bloody terrible. Okay, get off the screen now, quick! And lastly, in more Scottish news, ScotRail are now nationalised and run by Transport Scotland, who are also currently on the search of finding new trains to replace the Class 156s, 318s and 320s. But what train would be suitable for handling these operations? Yes, a 37 and Mark 1 coaches is the perfect candidate for this sort of thing in 2022. Back in your TARDIS, you plum. Finally, I fired him, and then I brought him back. We're now going to go over to our trade correspondent John, who is live with Transport Secretary Grant Shapps. Or should I say, Grant Yaps. What's happening down there, John? I didn't even know he was Chinese. Cheers, John. That's the end of this feature-length video. Join us next time when episode 8 will take so long to make that by the time it's out, you'd all have a wife and kids. Anyway, I appreciate your patience for this video and continued support for this series. Cheers for all your photo and video submissions, and as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.